Let's take a look at this problem. We got cosecant theta is equal to negative square root of 6, and cosine theta is greater than 0. And we want to find cosine of the half angle. Well, cosine of our half angle is equal to plus or minus square root of 1 plus cosine theta divided by 2. So we need cosine theta, looks like. Let's first determine our quadrant. Now it tells us that cosecant is negative square root of 6. Cosecant is r over y. So it basically tells us y is negative. Well, y is negative in these two quadrants. They're saying cosine is greater than 0. Cosine is x over r, so they're basically saying x is greater than 0. X is positive, which is in this quadrant and this quadrant. So where they're both true is quadrant 4. So that's one we're working with. Okay. Well, we got cosecant theta is equal to negative square root of 6 over 1. You can always create a fraction by putting it over 1. But actually, cosecant theta is going to equal the square root of 6 over negative 1. We'll talk y here in a second. Now remember, cosecant is r over y, so this is r and this is y. Down in quadrant 4, y values are negative, so we need the y value to be negative. And even more than that, r can never be negative, so that's why I had to put the negative down in the denominator. Well, let's find our x. Your goal on these is to find x, y, and r, and then use those to help you solve the problem. So we got x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. So x squared plus negative 1 squared is equal to the square root of 6 squared. So we got x squared plus 1 is equal to 6. Take the 1 over. We get x squared is equal to 5. Drop the squared, put a plus or minus square root around the other side. But in quadrant 4, the x values are positive. So we're going to keep x is equal to positive square root of 5. Okay, so now we're ready to find cosine theta. Cosine is equal to x over r. X we said was square root of 5, and r was square root of 6. Now, looking ahead, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that square root in the denominator. So we're going to multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 6. And that's going to give us square root of 30 over 6. And that's cosine theta. Okay. Now let's talk about what our sine is going to be. Okay, so we said that theta is in quadrant 4. So theta is over here somewhere. This is 270 degrees. This is 360 degrees. We want to pick some angle that I can easily divide in half. Let's pretend it's 300 degrees. Well, to figure out what theta over 2 is, half of 300 is 150. This is 90 degrees, and this is 180. So half of that would fall over here. That would be 150 degrees. So this is where theta over 2 is going to fall. Now I always pick a simple number example to help me wrap my mind around it. So we're sitting in there in this quadrant for theta over 2. And that's how we determine which one to keep here. Now we're dealing with cosine, and cosine is negative in this quadrant, which means I'm going to keep the negative version of it. And then I got 1 plus cosine theta over 2. So let's plug in what we identified. So we got 1 plus square root of 30 over 6 all over 2. Now this one is a complex fraction. It's a complex fraction because we've got a fraction inside of the fraction. So we're going to multiply everything by the LCM of all our inner denominators. This 6 here would be an inner denominator, so we'll multiply everything by 6. So I got 6 times 1 plus 6 times the square root of 30 over 6 all over 6 times 2. So that's going to give us a negative here, 6 times 1 is 6. These 6's cancel, so we got plus square root of 30 all over 12. Now, let's simplify this even further. Typically, we don't like fractions inside of a radical, so I'll split this up. I'll put a square root on top, and I'm going to put a square root around the bottom. But we don't like radicals in denominator, so I want to simplify that. 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. So this becomes negative square root of 60 plus square root of 30 over 2 square root of 3. But we can't have that square root down there, so I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 3. Now up on top, it becomes negative. When you multiply one radical times another radical, you multiply what's underneath the radicals. So I'm going to have 3 times 6 plus the square root of 30. And down below I got 2, and then square root of 3 times square root of 3 is 3. Now up on top, I'll multiply that 3 through. 3 times 6 is 18, and 3 times square root of 30 is 3 square root of 30. And down the bottom, 2 times 3 is 6. And that would be our answer.